What is going on, everyone? This is Dr. Josh Funk, and you are listening to the Strength and Knowledge Podcast.
What's up, everybody? This is Dr. Zach Baker, Chief Clinical Officer with Rehab to Perform, and I have got on with me one of our former students here at R2P, Dr. Josh Okonye, coming with us from the state of Florida. Josh, welcome on to the show.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. This is, trying to think, coming full circle, the first time we met was actually at the Blueprints course down in Fort Lauderdale, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I remember that.
Yes, I think we got to meet each other then, and then shortly after that, you were a student at our Bethesda location, and I think Ben Hafner was your CI when you were there?
Yep.
Awesome. All right, well, Josh, I know you have been recently graduated and have been busy. Do you mind giving listeners just a little bit of background about kind of who you are and what you're about, and after that, just kind of give the cliche story of how you got into PT school?
So, I started out, I played collegiate football. So, originally I'm from Houston, Texas, born and raised. And, I went to play collegiate football I did my undergrad at Wake Forest University, and did a grad year at Purdue University. I kind of knew before going into college that I wanted to do PT. I always knew that, I wanted to work in that rehab setting. And, I always paid attention to, what the trainers did and the PTs did with us, going through, my sports career. So, definitely always had an interest for that and wanted to kind of stay close to that the entire time, because I knew even though I had, professional aspirations, I still knew that at the end of the day, down the line, I wanted to do physical therapy at some point. So, I started off at Wake Forest, did my undergrad there, and then I went off to Purdue, played my grad season there. And then, fortunately, I had an opportunity to play and have a stint with the Detroit Lions as well. And that was a great experience. But even then, I was still, networking and, just talking to the other PTs, at the pro level, and kind of just seeing, just picking their brains a little bit and kind of seeing, how they got to where they are, and, just trying to get some knowledge from them while also, focusing on the sport at hand too as well. But yeah, once I did that, while I was at Purdue, interestingly, there was a former trainer who had gone to the University of Miami. So once I told the trainers at Purdue that I was interested in, attending PT school, they put me in contact with her. I talked to her. She told me about the University of Miami, her experiences, and that really put UM on the map for me. So funny enough, I did apply to UM during my last year at Purdue, and it was like my mindset was, all right, if I get accepted into PT school, then that's like the end of playing football. I kind of chose it as like, this is how I determine my path, because I knew how hard it was to get into PT school, and I knew, and Miami was my number one choice. So I'm like, I didn't do a grand application to multiple schools at that point. I just applied to Miami. I said, hey, if I get into my number one, that is a sign for me to go there and kind of, be done playing football. I applied
you gave
to
yourself
Miami.
the ultimatum there.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it was kind of like a way for me to, I don't know, like I kind of just, threw my name in the hat and, see if it stuck, then that was the way I should go. And so I would say, like, fortunately, I didn't get into Miami at the time. And during the application process, that was before the season started. So I had no clue how my last season was even going to go. So kind of, when I didn't get accepted, but I didn't find this out until after the season. But during the season, I ended up having a stellar season in my last year at Purdue, made Big Ten All Conference. And then, those aspirations started, coming to reality, and I was like, okay, wow. All right. So I always kind of knew I had a chance, but when the time comes down, now I'm training for pro day and everything like that. I'm like, okay, now I'm waiting to see if I get accepted. If I get accepted to PT school, then, maybe training for pro day and stuff like that may not be as, important. So, yeah, it was just constant battle between, making sure everything was, good football wise, but staying ready, for PT school and, making sure my application and everything was good for that. I was still getting, observation hours while I was, at Purdue, and trying to build that application. But, yeah, I didn't get accepted and I was like, all right, well, I know my route now. And so I ended up going to Detroit Lions. And just a little bit about that. It was just, man, like I will say that like the feeling of, I felt like everything had come to fruition. Just like, any kid who dreams of playing in the NFL, just being in the building, itself was just, a great experience. At the time I was there, we had players such as Matthew Stafford, Darius Slay, Golden Tate, there's a long list of just notable people. But even getting a chance to play against other NFL players that I've like watched over the years, like Marshawn Lynch, Derek Carr, Mark Cooper, Odell Beckham Jr. So yeah, it was a great experience, and it was definitely worth not getting into PT school for. I will say, after that experience was over, I was like, all right, I kind of want to go into PT school now. I was more like, it was a tough decision because, making that transition from playing to going into a different career is extremely tough for, a lot of athletes. And personally for me, I feel like I had a better, experience with it because I had another passion. My passion was physical therapy. So I already kind of knew where I wanted to go. It was just kind of hard to leave another identity behind in a way. That's how I felt. So I gave myself a year and I was like, I'm going to get ready for the next application process for PT school because I didn't want any of my credits to expire. And it was like, okay, the NFL is very, it's not, nothing is guaranteed, and you really don't know how long you're going to be on a team. You don't know, when you're going to get called, if you're going to get called. So it was like, I needed a little more stability. So I was like, I'm gonna give it a year. If I don't get the calls that I want, now I'm gonna go to PT school. And so yeah, I ended up applying again to Miami, number one choice. And yeah, and when I got in, man, Miami was at the time, it was a top 10 school. So me applying the second time around, I was a little nervous. I didn't think, I got a little nervous, just not sure if my application, measured up to a lot of other people. But I knew that this was my number one school. This is where I wanted to go. So, I stuck with it. I made my application even stronger after playing, working with teams, with organizations like Exos, and just kind of staying in the clinical atmosphere too with the jobs that I had. So yeah, I got in, and I called my agent and I told him, I was like, hey, I appreciate everything you've done for me, but I think this is the end of this road, and I'm just gonna I'm gonna focus on physical therapy school.
That's
That was. Huh?
No, that's it's a wild ride, and I would say one that the majority of people in PT school did not have the ability to share with you. That's a pretty unique way to get into PT school, and it's awesome. I love how you admitted that you were a multiple applicant to PT school. First time you didn't get in, second time you did, and that is not a rare thing. And I have a lot of friends that I applied with, and I had people that were in my class that are phenomenal PTs doing great things in the PT field now. who didn't get in on their first try. Unfortunately, it's a numbers game. There's a lot of people trying to get into PT school, a lot of highly qualified people trying to get in. And I think that speaks a lot to really just the person that you are, which I would have to imagine playing sports throughout your life has taught you that things don't always go as expected the first time, but it doesn't mean that it's not meant to be. You just got to keep plugging away. And we got into PT school at Miami. You're at your dream school. I went to University of Maryland. That was one, being a Maryland native, it was one that I was always kind of dedicated towards and hoping that I got into. And I was excited when I got in there. You were excited when you got to Miami. When you got there, what was the most surprisingly challenging part of PT school? And then also on the other side, what was the most enjoyable part of PT school while you were there as well?
I would say the most challenging part is, and it's a common experience, just the volume of work and materials that you need to learn in a short amount of time. And I just so happened to start PT school during COVID, so that was a unique experience in itself. It felt like PT school online, and it was just tough to build relationships with, your classmates and your faculty and everything. It was just, on Zoom all the time. So I will say, we start off with anatomy, and, they say anatomy is like the toughest course, and it's just a lot of information, but luckily for me personally, I was always good with time management. Just, being a student athlete, I kind of knew how to manage my time appropriately and, just how to, break things down in terms of, knowing how much time I needed to allot to studying and, things like that. And, with the city of Miami shut down, there wasn't too many distractions available to do anyway. So, I felt like it was it wasn't that bad of an environment because we kind of had no choice but to, stay on top of your studies and everything like that. So, but it was a lot of information. I would say that's the toughest part, trying to get it all, but also not just memorize things, but, conceptualize everything, and just understand why things are the way they are, where things are, knowing that it may look differently, for different people. And like when it comes to the anatomy, it's just kind of, getting getting to like third level of understanding of certain things. When it comes to the
and it was anatomy's kind of like drinking from the fire hose when you first get in there. I mean, I remember going to my first anatomy exam and thinking it's already a lot of information in regards to just, it's not just a femur, it's every aspect of the femur, every bony prominence, every attachment site that you need to know. And I remember going to my first anatomy exam and I don't know if I just wasn't paying attention or if I just misunderstood how the exam was going to be, but I just assumed there was going to be like a pin in a pec muscle and you'd have to say like, oh, that's a pec major. No, it was a pin in a pec muscle, and it was name the spinal level of the nerve that innervates a muscle that acts synergistically in the frontal plane to the muscle that has the pin in it. And I'm like, my head is spinning, and I'm like, I've got to answer 75 more of these questions in the next hour and a half. So that was I share your pain with anatomy, but it's a necessary evil. I was happy that it was kind of the first thing we learned in PT school because it kind of set the tone for the rest of PT school. It's kind of that you get hit in the face with reality a little bit of, hey, this is no longer undergrad. This is graduate school. Fortunately, it's something that we're very passionate about. So I think it's always easier to spend time and dedicate time to things that you are passionate about. But yeah, man, anatomy was no joke. We've been fortunate enough to have a lot of students from Miami and some very high quality students that have come out of Miami. So whatever they are doing in their DPT school down there, they are doing something right. Do you mind just talk a little bit about what were some things that you found just extremely beneficial, or what were some highlights of your time at the U?
Yeah, I feel like it's just the staff itself. A lot of our teachers and professors, they are just phenomenal, clinicians. And, the way they are able to explain things and, really provide extra help when needed is just, I say it's top tier. When people ask me about Miami, if you are interested in certain things like cardiopulm or working with prosthetics and just other, very, just other specializations, like we have a great professor for like all of it. And, our cardiopulmonary professor, she created the specialization for it. She was part of the first class of, cardiopulm, specialty. So just having that as a resource as well has just been very beneficial to, just making sure we're all, on top of the game when it comes to, with the knowledge of PT. So I would say when it comes to like, we get to work with our athletes too at UM. So that's like a great thing because our sports residency program is, one of few that actually gets to work with, the university football team and other sports and things like that. So, our professor for it is also the head, I believe, like at the time, kind of like the head person in charge of the sports residency. So, giving us opportunities to, learn in that aspect and having like, opportunities to kind of go in the training room and see that aspect too, for those who may not be as experienced in that, environment as well was helpful. But yeah, just the vast knowledge that we're able to get from all our professors. Some of them are, I would say most of them still practice too. So, it's a lot of updated knowledge, a lot of, updated experiences in the clinic. More real life things that like, hey, I know the book says this, but, I was just treating a patient last week and, this is another way that you can do it that might help in the real world setting. So that was great to have at Miami. That kind of helps, just put us on, another level, so to say.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
And I think there's always a layer of authenticity that comes into maintaining a presence in clinical practice. And I wear a few different hats here at R2P, and one of them overseeing teaching, mentoring within our sports residency, another that has more to do with mentorship and onboarding of our staff at R2P. But I still treat 20 hours a week, and I think it's important because it's very easy to get wrapped up in things that are theoretical and what should or should not happen, but it doesn't always play out that way. And I think it's nice to get those real life reps, and I think it's also from a camaraderie standpoint, building rapport with your colleagues. It's always nice for them to see you doing the same things that they're doing on a daily basis, and you're kind of practicing what you preach, and hopefully living up to expectations that you are expecting of others as well. Now, Josh, we're made our way out of school. We are in the working world now. What have you found yourself into? Where are you currently at? What are you doing for work right now?
So currently I'm at Complex Health and Wellness. We are a performance and rehab facility in South Miami. It's a, private practice. So it's definitely different than, the standard PT clinic. We work with, it's like a boutique style one-on-one environment. We work with, Gen Pop, professional athletes, as well as, younger athletes too as well. And, it's a great experience. It's the environment that I really wanted to work in, because the standard practice, I'm kind of like you kind of know what entails in that, especially with the insurance model. You get a lot of experience with that through PT school, but not too many times, or at least at Miami, did we get opportunity to see how the clinic works in the private sector and kind of see like how it's different when you're working with like, cash pay and, out of network and stuff like that. And it's a lot different, you have to put on your sales hat a little more. So that's been very, a fun experience to kind of do, because, I've always had a passion for, entrepreneurship and, and kind of just being able to figure out ways on how to reach people and, just bring people in that's more of like based on the quality of care that I can provide rather than, as being a convenient PT clinic to go to because like your insurance sends them there. So it's been great. I would say that it's different in terms of, when you have that hour and is more one-on-one, you get to really focus on the client. And I really love that. The way we do our examinations, our evals are an hour and a half. I will say the first time I saw, my first eval, knowing it was 90 minutes, I was freaking out, thinking this is way too long. Like how am I going to hold someone for 90 minutes?
You'd be reading them a book by the end of it or something just to get through it.
Yeah. But the great thing about our place is, we have so much technology to use when it comes to, having, VALD systems and using dynamometers, force plates, and, just actually having the time to use this, and that's the great thing about, having that time, because I get to really take the time to measure strength objectively and, different muscles and kind of see, all right, let's hop on the force plates and, get a lot of more information rather than, in some clinics where it's like, you got 30 minutes, you got to rush, you may have certain things, but you're not able to use it. So that's been a great thing to kind of like have the time to really, go through the evaluation process and really, hone in on finding out, just different deficits or, where you can really start off and, build up from for every patient, but also being able to do performance training as well with people who, are, past rehab. That's been great too, because I get to, use some of the things that I learned in the performance aspect. And that's why I really wanted this model, because I love rehab, but I also love strength conditioning and, performance training. And it's just basically bridging the gap between the two, being able to get someone from rehab and then keep them and now do some more higher level moving and everything like that has just been a great experience. So that's what I've really loved so far.
And that's awesome. I'm glad that you touched on just kind of the setup of the clinic that you have, where you have a longer than usual time for people, for follow-up sessions, for evaluations, but you've also been in other models in PT school where you've had to operate under different expectations, whether you have 30-minute time slots or maybe you're doubled or you've got 15 or 20 minutes. And I think it is a skill to be able to adapt to the environment and provide meaningful care in all of those. And I'm a true believer that you can provide something meaningful in a variety of settings, and whether that is a PT exclusive setting, a PT with a PTA, an interdisciplinary setting where you maybe have massage and strength conditioning and physicians, it might be insurance, it might be cash. And I think certain models are going to lend themselves to different maybe types of treatment or how you allocate time and resources, but it still comes down to the provider being able to see what they have in front of them. Like you had mentioned, know what resources you have. More importantly, know how to leverage them. And then you hit on something earlier, the type of clinic you're at, it is not one where people are being told to go there. They are voluntarily making a choice, I'm assuming, to seek out complex and that type of boutique setup, which it's tough. And as a new grad, I think that is something that is underappreciated when PTs come out of school of, and you would use the word, you got to kind of put your sales hat on. And I'm going to take that and expand on a little bit. You have to express what value you're providing for your client. And if they don't understand the value that you are providing, they are not going to have a reason to come back. And you can look at that however you want. That can be salesy, that can be intelligence, whatever it is. But the bottom line is, whether you are insurance or whether you're cash, when you have a patient interaction, you need to be able to intelligently and clearly communicate to them what their problem is, what the solution is going to be, and how you personally are the right answer for them for that solution. So I think that's you're in a very in my opinion, an awesome environment, but a challenging one as well, because just trying to get your feet wet as a new grad PT, in addition to navigating, honestly, like the expectations of probably, I'm assuming, well-off people in Southern Miami who are seeking out the best care. You've got your hands full there, but I've got nothing but positive reassurances that you're going to do very, very well there. What, now that you've gone through PT school, you're in your first job, for other people who are prospective PTs, maybe they're considering going to PT school, or they are currently in PT school and they're looking for maybe landing that first job. Based off your experiences, what advice would you give to those individuals?
I would say if you're going to PT school, make sure you love PT, like you love doing physical therapy. I know a lot of people want to do it because it's safe, because, there's job security, but, you never know what clinic you're going to end up in. You never know where you're going to be. And at the end of the day, sometimes people who are in, clinics that aren't that great, their love is what keeps them going. And that love is what's going to keep you actually, helping people and, giving people the best quality of care. Because a lot of people who come into the profession for the wrong reasons, they burn out quick. They don't, they realize, oh, this is not what they want to do, because maybe, the pay isn't what they thought it was, or the time that they have to themselves is, not what it was. And, there's growing pains when it comes to, working anything. And, I feel like I lucked out in, finding a spot that kind of, puts me in a better position to kind of, be a little bit more relaxed, but it forces me to make sure my quality of care is top notch, because when it comes down to it, people are going to pay for convenience. And if something is a little more convenient for them, I have to show why, our quality of care is worth its cost. So, it's been a balance of, being able to keep my clinical skills and keep growing my clinical skills as well, and just making sure they're top notch, but also making sure my knowing how to like pitch things and learning the mind of a patient or client, how that works, and kind of how to communicate things appropriately. Learning that kind of aspect too kind of work. So learning those at the same time has kind of been what I've been going through right now. But for aspiring students, at the end of the day, you just gotta love what you do, because that's what's gonna keep you, going. There are gonna be some times where you have long days, and they say you want to treat your last client like you will your first. And for me personally, it's kind of funny because I usually treat like my last client of the day. I am like, if we're doing like exercise and stuff like that, I'm going crazy with them, because it's like I'm going to sweat. This is my last client. And, you'd be surprised. But, you just want to be able to be useful and, be able to still provide value to your patients. And you just have to love it. And you just have to really, really love what you do, because you may be in a tough situation for a little bit, but it may get you to a better situation later. So you just have to love what you do, because it's going to keep you getting through all the hard times that you may experience.
No, I love that you mentioned that. And you kind of hit the nail on the head. PT school's not easy. Navigating your first job is not easy. Circumstances can change with what you thought was an ideal situation. All of a sudden is no longer an ideal situation. You may have to tough it out for a little bit until another door opens. So it reminds me of growing up, and playing sports. And I'm sure you've heard this when you were going through the recruiting phase for football. It's, we want guys that love football. We don't want guys that like football, because guess what?
Yeah.
2-a-days aren't easy. Waking up at 5 a.m. to lift isn't easy. Having study hall and different standards and academic expectations on top of football isn't easy. So if you don't want to be here, you probably won't last that long. And it's the same thing like you alluded to in your profession. I think, the sign of a good career choice is one that you are able to stay in for as long as you desire, and you're not kind of handcuffed to stay there. And, whether your career ends up being 5 years or 35 years, as long as you're the one that's calling the shots on when you enter and exit the workplace, I think that's the sign of a well thought out choice on your part. So my advice for anybody listening here is reach out to people like Josh. Reach out to others who have gone through things that you are aspiring to go through. You want to go into PT school? Reach out to people who have been there. You want to go into sports rehab? Reach out to people who have been there. You want to go to a cash-based clinic? Talk to people who have been there. Make sure it is what you think it is. And it's funny, I remember talking to a student who he ended up going through a sports residency, but when he was doing the applications, the person interviewing him said, you know, what makes you want to do this residency? He goes, oh, I want to work in sports. And the guy doing the interview says, really? But what does that mean? Have you ever worked in sports? Oh, no, I haven't. Yeah. He goes, oh, so you mean you want to be in the training room at 6 a.m.? Oh, I didn't think about that. Oh, you want to travel with the team and get home at midnight and then wake up at 5 and get in the training room again? Oh, I didn't think about that. You don't mind working a 40-hour week and then also doing this other stuff on the side. It's funny. You don't know what you don't know sometimes. And I think if you don't have that experience, you just got to reach out to others and find just genuine people who aren't afraid to share the highs and the lows of what they've gone through. Josh, for people listening who've enjoyed what you've had to say and are interested in connecting with you or just kind of following along on your career journey, what is the easiest way for them to either connect with you or just stay in touch?
You can go to my Instagram, Josh Okonye Official. So that's Josh Okonye Official. That's a great way to contact me. I'm on there all the time. I upload a lot of content. That's been another thing. You know, I've been, just uploading a lot of educational content, but, just performance content and, a little bit of lifestyle, but more like healthy lifestyle. And just promoting a lot of things on there as well. I would say that's the best way to contact me. And then, we can just go from there in terms of, anything else any other way they want to reach out to me. But that's usually a good go-to.
Awesome. Well, Josh, I appreciate you taking the time. Enjoyed you while you were up at our Bethesda location. And I look forward to seeing the great things that you do in the PT career. I appreciate you, man.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate everything. Appreciate everything y'all do. And anytime anyone asks me about Rehab Perform, I say hey, y'all are one of the best companies and the highest quality, especially in the in-network model, which is hard to find. I do, love what y'all do. Is very inspiring to y'all, really, really, work hard to keep up the quality, but also just the educational aspect of everything. And, this is honestly inspiring to see. And it's just, y'all are really, doing it. So I really love what y'all do and just, can't wait to see how many more clinics y'all continue to open up. Hopefully, y'all come down south a little bit, and, we can see what happens.
I appreciate it. We'll be hitting you up if we come down that way. Josh, I appreciate you for coming on. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you for listening to the Strength and Knowledge Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode or have been tuned in for multiple episodes, we would love for you to subscribe, rate, and give us a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. Until next time, thanks for listening.